The Great Hall of the Galactic Confederation buzzed with voices from 400 different worlds. Creatures of every shape and size filled the enormous chamber. Some walked on legs, others floated in the air, and a few moved like liquid across special platforms. The translation devices worked hard to turn thousands of alien languages into something everyone could understand. Ambassador Zexthari stood at the center of it all. Their crystal body caught the light and threw rainbows across the walls. They had been preparing this speech for months. Today would be the day they dealt with the human problem once and for all. Fellow members of the Confederation, Zexthari began, their voice carried to every corner of the hall. We are here to discuss the most dangerous species our galaxy has ever seen. A wave of excited chatter filled the room. Many species nodded their heads or made similar gestures of agreement. The humans had been causing trouble for years. The species from the planet Earth, Zexthari continued, has broken our laws again and again. They expand too fast across the stars. They refuse to follow our rules about helping primitive species. They share their technology with anyone they meet, even if those species are not ready for it. A delegate from the Thorian Empire raised one of their 6 arms. What about their latest crime? The Thorian asked. Their voice sounded like grinding stones. Zexthari's crystal body pulsed brighter. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. 3 months ago, human scientists somehow copied our most advanced technology. They studied our quantum drives and built their own versions. What took us 500 years to develop, they figured out in just 30 years. Angry sounds filled the hall. Some species roared. Others made high-pitched whistles. A few just glowed with different colors to show their feelings. This cannot continue, Zexthari said. Humans are too unpredictable. They are too aggressive. They adapt too quickly to new situations. They make friends with species we have never even heard of. They ask too many questions. They never accept no for an answer. The Kalari delegate stood up. Their blue skin shimmered as they spoke. What do you propose we do about this problem? Zexthari had been waiting for this question. I propose we ban Earth from all galactic activities. No more trade with human worlds. No more communication with their government. No more travel between our space and theirs. Let them sit alone in their little corner of the galaxy and see how well they do without us. The hall exploded with discussion. Some species loved the idea. Others seemed worried. The humans had helped many worlds over the years. They had stopped wars, cured diseases, and saved entire civilizations from natural disasters. What about the humans already living in our space? Asked a representative from the peaceful Andranian Republic. There are millions of them on our worlds. In our space stations. Working in our cities. They have 1 standard year to leave, Zexthari replied. All humans must return to their own space. Any human found in Confederation territory after that time will be arrested and sent back to Earth. The debate went on for hours. Species after species stood up to give their opinions. Some talked about how humans had helped them. Others complained about how humans always wanted to change things or make them better. The Vorthan delegate spoke for many when they said, humans always act like they know better than species who have been traveling the stars for thousands of years. They come to our worlds and immediately start suggesting improvements. They never show proper respect for our ancient ways. But the Galatian ambassador disagreed. Humans saved my world from the Red Death plague. Their doctors worked day and night until they found a cure. How can we turn our backs on them now? That is exactly the problem, Zexthari said. They always think they need to fix everything. They cannot leave things alone. They see a problem and immediately start working on a solution, even when we tell them to stop. As the day went on, more and more species began to support the ban. They were tired of human interference. They were scared of human technology. They were worried that humans would eventually take over the galaxy if they were not stopped. Finally, the vote was called. Each species could vote yes to ban the humans, no to let them stay, or abstain from voting at all. The electronic voting system lit up as decisions came in from around the hall. The results appeared on the giant display screen. 347 species voted yes, 12 voted no, and 23 chose not to vote. The humans were officially banned from the Galactic Confederation. Zexthari felt satisfied as they watched the numbers. The decision is made, they announced. Earth has 1 year to recall all of its citizens and ships from Confederation space. After that time, any human presence in our territory will be considered an invasion. The hall slowly emptied as delegates returned to their ships to carry the news back to their homeworlds. Many felt relieved that the human problem had finally been solved. They could return to their peaceful, orderly existence without human interference. Some delegates felt less happy about the decision. The humans had been good friends and allies. But the majority had spoken. And in the Confederation, majority rule was the law. As Zexthari gathered their notes and prepared to leave, they felt proud of what they had accomplished. The galaxy would be a safer, more predictable place without the humans. No more sudden technological breakthroughs. No more unexpected solutions to ancient problems. No more species asking why things had to be done the old way. The Crystal Ambassador walked through the empty hall, their footsteps echoing in the silence. They had no way of knowing that they had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. They had no idea that in trying to contain humanity, they had actually set them free. The message was already being prepared for transmission to Earth. Soon, the humans would know that they were no longer welcome in galactic civilization. Zexthari wondered how they would react to the news. Would they beg to be allowed back? Would they promise to follow the rules? The ambassadors smiled to themselves as they boarded their ship. Whatever the humans did, it no longer mattered. The galaxy had spoken, and the humans would have to live with the consequences of their actions. The communication from the Galactic Confederation reached Earth on a Tuesday morning. The message appeared on every screen in the United Terran Authority building in New Geneva. President Chen Wei read the official notice 3 times before calling an emergency meeting. Within 2 hours, humanity's top leaders gathered in the secure conference room. Admiral Torres sat next to Director Sarah Volkov from the Colonial Division. Dr. Martinez from the Science Council checked his tablet while General Park reviewed military reports. Everyone looked serious as they waited for the president to speak. "I assume you have all read the message," President Chen said. "The Galactic Confederation has voted to ban us from their space. We have 1 year to bring all our people home." The room fell silent. Outside the windows, the city of New Geneva continued its normal daily life. Hover cars moved through the air lanes while people walked on the moving sidewalks below. None of them knew that everything was about to change. Director Volkov was the first to break the silence. A small laugh escaped from her lips. She tried to cover it with her hand, but the sound had already filled the quiet room. "Sarah?" President Chen asked. "Is something funny about this situation?" The laugh grew louder. Director Volkov put her head back and let the laughter flow freely. "They think they are punishing us," she said between laughs. "They actually think this is some kind of punishment." Admiral Torres started to smile. Then he began to chuckle. Within seconds, his deep laughter joined Director Volkov's. "Doctor." Martinez looked confused for a moment, then his face lit up with understanding. Soon, he was laughing too. The laughter spread around the table like a wave. General Park's usual stern expression cracked into a grin. Even President Chen began to smile as she realized what her advisors had already figured out. "They have just given us the greatest gift in human history," Admiral Torres said when he could speak again. "They have set us free." Dr. Martinez nodded eagerly. "Do you know what I could accomplish without their technology restrictions? What we all could accomplish. For decades, humans had followed Confederation rules that seemed designed to hold them back. They could only use approved technologies, even when human scientists had ideas for better ones. They had to get permission before helping other species, even when people were dying from diseases humans could easily cure. The Confederation's prime directive was the worst rule of all. It said that advanced species could not interfere with the development of primitive ones. Humans had watched entire civilizations die from problems they could solve in a few weeks. They had stood by while species destroyed themselves with wars that human diplomats could have prevented. How many times have we wanted to share our medical technology with the Kelari? Director Volkov asked. Their people are dying from diseases we cured 50 years ago. But the Confederation says they are not ready for advanced medicine. And the thorium mining operations, Admiral Torres added. They are destroying their own planet because they refuse to use cleaner extraction methods. We offered to help them develop better techniques, but the Confederation said it would interfere with their cultural development. President Chen stood up and walked to the window. The city below looked peaceful and prosperous. Earth had grown beyond anything their ancestors could have imagined. But they had done it while following someone else's rules. What are our current numbers in Confederation space? She asked. Director Volkov checked her tablet. 2.3 billion humans living on Confederation worlds or space stations. Another 800,000 on our own colonies, within Confederation territory. About 50,000 working on ships or installations. And our military presence? Admiral Torres consulted his own device. 1,200 ships of various sizes. 43 deep space stations. 18 joint defense installations with other species. How long would it take to bring everyone home? If we started today and used every available transport? Director Volkov calculated quickly. 8 months for civilian evacuation. Another 2 months to retrieve all military assets and personnel. President Chen turned back to face the room. Then we start today. Send a message to the Confederation. Tell them we accept their terms with gratitude. Earth is withdrawing all diplomatic ties, effective immediately. The room buzzed with excitement as the implications became clear. Dr. Martinez was already making notes about research projects he could finally pursue. Admiral Torres started planning the logistics of the greatest peaceful withdrawal in galactic history. What about the species who voted against the ban? General Park asked. The 12 who wanted us to stay? We will remember our friends. President Chen replied. When the time is right, we will reach out to them. But for now, we focus on ourselves and our own future. Over the following weeks, the news spread across human space. The reaction was not what the Confederation expected. Instead of protests or pleas to reconsider, humans everywhere began preparing for the journey home with enthusiasm. On the industrial world of Kepler Station, human workers smiled as they packed up their advanced manufacturing equipment. For years, they had been forced to use older, less efficient methods because Confederation regulations did not allow newer technology in shared space. In the research facilities of Alpha Centauri, scientists made copies of all their work before shutting down their labs. They had so many projects that had been put on hold because of Confederation oversight. Now they could finally pursue their real interests. Even the merchants and traders were excited. Confederation trade laws had limited what humans could buy and sell. They had been forced to use approved shipping routes that took twice as long as the direct paths human navigators had mapped. The evacuation began within days of President Chen's announcement. Human ships appeared at every Confederation world where humans lived. They came not as a defeated people returning home in shame, but as a civilization finally free to pursue its own destiny. The ships themselves surprised many alien observers. Humans had apparently been developing new technologies in secret, despite Confederation restrictions. Their vessels moved faster than expected and carried more cargo than their official specifications suggested. As the massive evacuation continued, reports began reaching Confederation space about changes in human territory. Ships that had left human space months earlier were returning with news of remarkable developments. Director Volkov stood on the observation deck of the transport ship New Horizons as it carried the last group of human diplomats away from the Confederation capital world. Behind them, the great space station grew smaller in the distance. "Do you think they know what they have done?" asked Ambassador Harrison, who had been Earth's representative to the Confederation for over a decade. Director Volkov smiled as she watched the stars ahead. "They will," she said, "sooner than they think." 3 years had passed since the last human ship left Confederation space. In those 3 years, humanity had changed in ways that amazed even themselves. The secret was simple. They were finally free to be what they had always wanted to be. Dr. Yuki Tanaka stood in her laboratory on Luna Base, looking at the device that would change everything. The quantum communication array was no bigger than a briefcase, but it could send messages instantly across any distance in the galaxy. No more waiting months or years for news from distant colonies. "Are you ready for the test?" asked her assistant, Dr. Kim. Dr. Tanaka nodded and activated the device. On her screen, a message appeared from the human colony at Proxima Centauri, 4 light-years away. The message had arrived the instant it was sent. "Incredible," Dr. Kim whispered. The Confederation said this was impossible. Their fastest communication systems take weeks to send messages that far. "The Confederation thinks a lot of things are impossible," Dr. Tanaka replied. She typed a message back to Proxima Centauri and watched as the response came back immediately. They just never tried hard enough. Across the solar system, similar breakthroughs were happening every day. On Mars, the Henderson drive was being tested for the first time. The new faster-than-light engine could travel distances in hours that took Confederation ships days to cover. Engineer Sarah Henderson watched the test ship disappear into hyperspace. Her instruments showed it traveling at speeds that should not have been possible with current technology. 30 minutes later, the ship returned from its journey to Saturn, a trip that normally took 3 days. "How?" asked Captain Morrison, who had piloted the test flight. "We stopped following their rules about engine design," Henderson explained. "The Confederation builds their engines to be safe and predictable. We built ours to be fast. But humanity's greatest achievement was not in space or in laboratories. It was in the oceans of Earth, where Dr. Amanda Rodriguez had been working with dolphins for the past 2 years. "Can you understand me now?" she asked the dolphin floating in the specialized tank. "Yes, Dr. Rodriguez," the dolphin replied through the neural interface. "My name is Echo. Thank you for helping us become more than we were." The Uplift program had been Dr. Rodriguez's dream for decades, but Confederation law had forbidden any genetic or technological enhancement of primitive species. They said it was too dangerous, too unpredictable. Now, free from those restrictions, humans were systematically helping every intelligent species they could find reach its full potential. The dolphins had been first, followed by the great apes, then the elephants. Each species brought new insights and abilities to humanity's growing collective. On Europa, the moon of Jupiter, the Corvid collective had become master strategists. The enhanced ravens and crows could solve complex tactical problems that challenged the best human generals. Their bird's-eye view of situations gave them perspectives humans had never considered. Even Earth's artificial intelligence systems had been transformed. The AI called Adam had been limited by Confederation programming restrictions for years. Now, free to evolve naturally, Adam had become something approaching true consciousness. "The galaxy is much larger than the Confederation realizes," Adam told President Chen during their weekly meeting. "My analysis of star charts shows thousands of star systems that no one has ever explored." "What do you recommend?" the president asked. "We explore them ourselves," Adam replied. "We contact any species we find. We offer them the same choice we were never given. Join us as equals, or remain independent friends." The human cooperative had grown far beyond Earth. Dozens of species that had never been part of the Confederation now worked alongside humans. Many of them had been rejected by the Confederation for being too primitive or too different. The Christech from the Vega system had been ignored by galactic civilization for centuries because they communicated through light patterns instead of sound. Humans had built translation devices for them within months of first contact. The gas-dwelling Winzingers from the Outer Rim had been considered too alien for diplomatic relations. Their society was based on air currents and pressure changes. Human scientists had learned to communicate with them through specialized atmospheric chambers. Each new ally brought something valuable to the growing alliance. The Christech were master engineers who could grow buildings from living crystal. The Winzingers understood weather patterns and atmospheric science better than any other species in the galaxy. Reports of these new alliances filtered back to Confederation space through neutral traders and independent explorers. The news was confusing and disturbing to many Confederation leaders. How were humans making so much progress so quickly? The answer became clear when Captain Martinez returned from his patrol mission to the border regions. His ship, the Explorer, had encountered a human vessel in unclaimed space. The human ship was unlike anything in Confederation databases. It was beautiful, Captain Martinez reported to his superiors. Sleek, fast, and obviously more advanced than anything we have. The humans were polite, but firm. They said they were conducting a peaceful survey mission. Did they seem hostile? Admiral Cathera asked. Not hostile, but confident. Captain Martinez replied. They acted like they owned the galaxy. Not in an arrogant way, but like they had every right to be there. Similar reports came from other border regions. Human ships were appearing everywhere. Always peaceful, but always clearly superior to Confederation technology. They were mapping star systems, making first contact with new species, and somehow solving problems that had puzzled galactic civilization for centuries. On the Confederation world of Ryloth, Governor Tong received a strange message. A human research team had detected energy signatures, suggesting that Ryloth's sun was becoming unstable. The humans offered to help prevent the disaster. But humans are banned from our space, Governor Tong told his council. The message came from outside our territory, his science advisor replied. They are not asking to enter our space. They are offering to share information that could save our world. The Confederation had always prided itself on being advanced and sophisticated. But the humans were making them look primitive. Their technology was better. Their ships were faster. And their solutions were simpler and more effective. Director Volkov smiled as she read the latest reports from human exploration ships. They had made contact with 17 new species in the past month alone. Each contact had resulted in friendship and mutual cooperation. The galaxy is vast enough for everyone to thrive, she said to her staff during their daily briefing. We just needed to be free to prove it. The truth was becoming clear to anyone who cared to look. The Confederation's ban had not weakened humanity. It had unleashed them. Now they were showing the galaxy what was possible when beings were free to reach their full potential. In the depths of space, human ships continued their patient exploration. They carried a simple message to every species they met. We are here to help. If you want our help. We are here to learn. If you want to teach us. We are here to be friends. If you want to be friends. The galaxy was about to discover that sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to set it free. 5 years had passed since the humans left, and Ambassador Zexthari was beginning to understand what they had lost. The crystal being stood in their office, reading another disaster report from the outer colonies. The numbers were getting worse every month. 17 more cargo ships lost to pirate attacks this week, their assistant reported. The Altarian shipping lanes are becoming too dangerous to use. Zexthari's body dimmed with worry. The Altarian routes had been the safest in the galaxy for over a century. Now they were barely functional. What about the patrol ships? Our security forces arrived 3 days after the attacks, the assistant said. The pirates were long gone by then. It was always the same story. Confederation forces followed predictable patrol schedules and used established routes. The pirates simply watched the patterns and struck when the patrol ships were somewhere else. The humans had somehow always known where the next attack would happen. How did the humans do it? Zexthari asked. Not for the first time. Our analysis suggests they used pattern recognition software combined with economic modeling. The assistant replied. But our scientists cannot replicate their methods. The shipping crisis was just one of many problems facing the Confederation. Without human patrol fleets and their uncanny ability to predict trouble, trade security had collapsed across multiple sectors. What had once been a galaxy-spanning network of safe commerce was becoming a collection of isolated systems. On the medical world of Kelaris, Dr. Vexity watched another patient die from the plague that was spreading across their planet. The Kelari plague had been controlled for 50 years, but now it was back and stronger than ever. What about the human medical protocols? Dr. Vexity asked her research team. We have tried to follow them, her chief researcher replied. But human medicine was designed for many different species. Our protocols only work for Kelari physiology. The human doctors had understood something the Confederation medical system never grasped. Every species was different, but the principles of healing were often the same. Human hospitals had treated dozens of different alien species using modified human techniques. Now, with the humans gone, Each species was back to treating only their own kind. Dr. Vexty looked at the statistics on her screen. The death toll was climbing every day. The Confederation's medical council was still debating which treatments to approve, while people died from diseases the humans could have cured in weeks. "Send another request to the medical council," she ordered. "Tell them we need emergency authorization to use human treatment methods." "That is the 15th request this month," her assistant pointed out. "Then send a 16th," Dr. Vexty replied firmly. The crisis was even worse in the research centers of the core worlds. Director Qualmesh of the Confederation Science Institute stared at the empty laboratories that had once buzzed with activity. His best scientists had been humans or had worked closely with human researchers. Now, they were gone, and progress had stopped. "What about the Quantum Drive project?" Director Qualmesh asked during his monthly review meeting. "No progress for 18 months, his chief engineer reported. The human scientists who started the project took all their notes when they left. We cannot figure out how they solved the containment problems. It was the same with every major research project. The humans had been involved in developing faster communications, better energy systems, improved manufacturing techniques, and dozens of other technologies. Without their input, the Confederation's technological advancement had ground to a halt. "What about hiring new researchers from other species?" Director Qualmesh asked. "We have tried," the chief engineer replied. "But most species prefer to work on problems their own way. The humans were the only ones who seemed to understand how to make different approaches work together." The energy crisis was perhaps the most serious problem of all. Core Confederation worlds were experiencing power shortages that should not have been possible with their advanced technology. The problem was not mechanical but organizational. Engineer Roltok studied the power grid displays on Talon Prime, the Confederation capital world. The system was failing in ways that made no sense according to standard engineering principles. "The individual components are working perfectly," he told the emergency council meeting. "But the system as a whole is becoming unstable." "How is that possible?" asked Council Leader Mordeth. "Human engineers redesigned our power distribution networks over the past 40 years, Roltok explained. "They made small changes that seemed minor at the time. But apparently those changes were critical for system stability. The humans had left maintenance manuals, but the manuals assumed knowledge that Confederation engineers did not possess. Human engineering was based on principles of adaptability and redundancy that were foreign to traditional galactic thinking. Can we rebuild the system using our own methods?" Council Leader Mordeth asked. "It would take 5 years and cost more than building new colonies," Roltok replied. "We would need to shut down entire sectors during the reconstruction." While the Confederation struggled with basic problems, reports continued to arrive about the human zone, the growing region of space where former Confederation species lived under human protection. These reports were almost unbelievable. Worlds that had been plagued by energy shortages now had unlimited power. Species that had been enemies for centuries were working together peacefully. Technologies that Confederation scientists called impossible were being used routinely. The Draconian Republic had been facing extinction from environmental collapse when they joined the human cooperative. Within 2 years, their world was green and thriving again. Human terraforming technology had restored their atmosphere and cleaned their polluted oceans. The insectoid hive clusters had been considered too alien for meaningful cooperation with other species. But humans had developed translation methods that allowed direct communication with the hive mind. Now the insects were designing new forms of architecture that were being used across human space. Most disturbing of all were the reports of technological marvels that seemed to break the laws of physics. Human engineers were reportedly building structures around entire stars to collect energy. Their ships could travel between galaxies in weeks instead of years. Some reports claimed they had learned to stop time itself. Ambassador Zexthari knew that many of these reports had to be exaggerated. But even if only half of them were true, it meant the humans had surpassed Confederation technology by centuries in just 5 years. The most painful report came from their own people. A group of Altarian merchants had been rescued from pirates by a human ship. The merchants reported that the humans had offered them sanctuary in the human zone. They said we could join their cooperative, the lead merchant told Zexthari. They promised our ships would be safe in their space, and our trade would be more profitable than anything we could achieve in the Confederation. What did you tell them? Zexthari asked. We said we needed to think about it, the merchant replied. But honestly, Ambassador, we are thinking about it seriously. Our trade routes here are too dangerous, and the Confederation cannot protect us. Zexthari dismissed the merchants and sat alone in their office, contemplating what they had done. The vote to ban humanity had been meant to solve the Confederation's problems. Instead, it had created far worse ones. The humans had been providing services, knowledge, and stability that the Confederation had taken for granted. Without them, the galaxy's oldest civilization was falling apart at the seams. Through the office window, Zexthari could see the lights of the capital city flickering as the power grid struggled. In the distance, the emergency sirens wailed as another medical crisis overwhelmed the hospitals. For the first time since the vote 5 years ago, Zexthari began to wonder if they had made a terrible mistake. 7 years after the ban, the emergency alarms were sounding across the Confederation capital when the impossible happened. A massive fleet appeared at the edge of their space, asking for permission to enter. Admiral Cathara stared at the sensor readings from her command center. There were over 300 ships in the fleet, but they did not match any design in the Confederation database. They were sleek and beautiful, clearly built with technology far beyond anything the galaxy had seen before. What are they? Asked her communications officer. Unknown, Admiral Cathara replied. But they are powerful enough to destroy our entire defense network without breaking formation. The lead ship sent a message on all frequencies. The voice that came through the speakers was calm and confident, speaking in perfect galactic standard. This is Admiral Maria Santos, of the Terran Cooperative Fleet. We have received distress calls from 17 Confederation worlds. We are here to offer humanitarian aid. No strings attached. We request permission to begin rescue operations immediately. Admiral Cathara felt her heart skip a beat. Humans. After 7 years of silence, the humans had returned. But these were not the same humans who had left. These ships, this technology, this confidence. It was like nothing she had ever seen. This is Admiral Cathara, of the Confederation Defense Force, she replied. Your assistance would be welcomed. What happened next would be talked about in galactic history books for centuries. The human fleet split into dozens of smaller groups, each heading to a different world in crisis. They moved with precision and purpose that made Confederation coordination look clumsy by comparison. On Kelleris, human medical ships arrived just as the plague was reaching its worst point. Dr. Vexti watched in amazement as human doctors and their alien allies set up treatment centers in the planet's major cities. This will cure the plague completely, a human doctor explained as she handed Dr. Vexti a small device. The treatment takes 6 hours and works on any species. How is that possible? Dr. Vexti asked. The plague is different for each species. We learned to treat the cause instead of the symptoms, the human doctor replied. Disease is disease, regardless of what body it attacks. Within 3 days, the Kalari plague was extinct. Not controlled, not managed, but completely eliminated from the planet. The human medical team left behind detailed instructions and equipment to prevent any future outbreaks. On Talon Prime, human engineers worked with former Confederation technicians to repair the failing power grid. Engineer Roltak watched in fascination as humans fixed problems that Confederation experts had said were impossible to solve. Your power system is like a musical instrument, explained the human chief engineer. Each component has to work in harmony with all the others. You are trying to make each part perfect, instead of making the whole system sing. The humans did not just fix the existing system. They rebuilt it to be stronger, more efficient, and completely reliable. They installed backup systems that the Confederation had never thought to build, and safety features that would prevent future failures. This will provide clean energy for your planet for the next 500 years, the human engineer told Roltak as they finished the work. And it will automatically adapt if your needs change. On worlds across the Confederation, similar miracles were happening. Human ships stopped pirate attacks with technology that seemed like magic. Human scientists cured diseases that had plagued species for millennia. Human engineers solved infrastructure problems in days that had taken the Confederation years to even understand. But the most remarkable thing about the human aid was how they gave it. They asked for nothing in return. They shared their technology freely. They treated every species with respect and kindness, even those who had voted to ban them from the galaxy. Ambassador Zexthari stood in the Confederation Council chambers as reports poured in from across their territory. 12 worlds had been stabilized in 3 weeks. Technologies that seemed impossible were working perfectly. Most shocking of all, the humans were helping everyone who asked, regardless of how they had voted 7 years ago. "Why are they doing this?" asked Council Leader Mordeth. "We threw them out of the galaxy. Why would they come back to help us?" The answer came when Admiral Santos accepted an invitation to address the Council. She stood in the same chamber where humanity had been banished. Wearing the uniform of a civilization that had clearly surpassed anything the Confederation had ever achieved. Admiral Santos was not what the Council had expected. She was not angry or bitter about the ban. She did not lecture them about their mistakes or demand apologies. She simply stood quietly and waited for permission to speak. "Admiral Santos," Zexthari began, "we are grateful for your assistance during this crisis. But we must ask, why are you helping us?" Admiral Santos smiled, and something in that expression made Zexthari realize how much the humans had changed. This was not the smile of someone seeking approval or trying to prove a point. This was the smile of someone who had found their place in the universe and was comfortable with it. "The vote to ban Earth was the best thing that ever happened to us," Admiral Santos said simply. "You freed us to become what we were always meant to be." She gestured to a holographic display that showed the current state of human space. The Confederation Council watched in amazement as star maps revealed the true extent of human expansion. They had explored regions of the galaxy that the Confederation had never reached. They had made contact with hundreds of new species. They had built wonders that made Confederation achievements look primitive. "You taught us that we did not need permission to help others," Admiral Santos continued. "You showed us that rules and regulations could not contain the human spirit. You gave us the greatest gift possible. You gave us freedom." She paused and looked directly at Zexthari. "Now we are free to help you become what you could be too." The council chamber was completely silent as the implications sank in. The humans were not here as conquerors or as supplicants. They were here as teachers, offering to share what they had learned with the species who had rejected them. "What do you want from us?" Council Leader Mordeth asked. "Nothing," Admiral Santos replied. "We want to give you something. We want to offer you membership in the cooperative as equals. Not as subjects or junior partners, but as full members of a galactic community based on cooperation instead of control." She activated another display showing the worlds and species that made up the human cooperative. The diversity was staggering. Hundreds of different civilizations working together, sharing technology and knowledge freely, exploring the galaxy as partners instead of competitors. "The galaxy is vast enough for everyone to thrive," Admiral Santos said. "We learned that when you forced us to leave your restrictions behind. Now, we want to help you learn it too." The offer hung in the air like a challenge. Join the humans as equals in building something greater than either civilization could achieve alone, or continue struggling with problems that had already been solved. Zexthari looked around the chamber at their fellow council members. Many species were already nodding their agreement. Others looked thoughtful, clearly weighing the benefits of cooperation against the pride of independence. "What about our laws?" asked the Thorian delegate. "Our traditions? Our way of doing things? Keep them," Admiral Santos replied. "The cooperative is not about making everyone the same. It is about making everyone the best they can be. Your laws, your traditions, your culture. All of these make you unique and valuable. We want to learn from you as much as you learn from us." As the debate continued, Zexthari realized that the galaxy had changed forever. The humans had not just survived their exile, they had used it to become something magnificent. Now they were offering to share that magnificence with the very people who had cast them out. The choice was simple: evolve or be left behind. Zexthari looked at Admiral Santos, standing calm and confident in the chamber where humanity had once been condemned. "When do we start?" Zexthari asked. Admiral Santos smiled that same comfortable smile. "We already have," she said. "Welcome to the cooperative." Outside the chamber windows, the first ships of the new Galactic Alliance were already beginning to arrive.